dark, tried to turn on the light again, activated the windshield washer again. I don't need a gun to control you, Mr. Trout. All I have to do is write down something about you, and that's it. Are you crazy, he said. No, I said, and I shattered his power to doubt me. I transported him to the Taj Mahal, and then to Venice, and then to Dar el Salaam, and then to the surface of the sun where the flames could not consume him, and then back to Midland City again. The poor old man crashed to his knees. He reminded me of the way my mother and Bunny Hoover's mother used to act whenever somebody tried to take their photographs. As he cowered there, I transported him to the Bermuda of his childhood, had him contemplate the infertile egg of a Bermuda urn. I took him from there to the Indianapolis of my childhood. I put him in a circus crowd there. I had him see a man with a taxi and a woman with a goiter as big as a zucchini. I got out of my rented car. I did it noisily, so his ears would tell him a lot about his creator, even if he was unwilling to use his eyes. I slammed the door firmly. As I approached him from the driver's side of the car, I swiveled my feet some, so that my footsteps were not only deliberate, but gritty, too. I stopped with the tips of my shoes on the rim of the narrow field of his downcast eyes. Mr. Trout, I love you, I said gently. I have broken your mind to pieces. I want to make it whole. I want you to feel a wholeness and an inner harmony such as I have never allowed you to feel before. I want you to raise your eyes, to look at what I have in my hand. I had nothing in my hand, but such was my power over Trout that he would see in it whatever I wished him to see. I might have shown him Helen of Troy, for instance, only 6 inches tall. Mr. Trout, Kilgore, I said. My hand, a symbol of wholeness and harmony and nourishment. It is oriental in its simplicity, but we are Americans, Kilgore, and not Chinamen. We Americans require symbols which are richly colored and three-dimensional and juicy. Most of all, we hunger for symbols which have not been poisoned by great sins our nation has committed, such as slavery and genocide and criminal neglect, or by tin-horn commercial greed and cunning. Look up, Mr. Trout, I said, and I waited patiently. Kilgore? The old man looked up, and he had my father's wasted face, when my father was a widower, when my father was an old man. He saw that it was an apple in my hand. I'm approaching my 50th birthday, Mr. Trout, I said. I'm cleansing and renewing myself for the very different sorts of years to come. Under similar spiritual conditions, Count Tolstoy freed his serfs. Thomas Jefferson freed his slaves. I'm going to set at liberty all the literary characters who have served me so loyally during my writing career. You are the only one I'm telling. For the others, tonight will be a night like any other night. Arise, Mr. Trout. You are free. You are free. He arose shamblingly. I might have shaken his hand, but his right hand was injured, so our hands remained dangling at our sides. Bon voyage, I said. I disappeared. I somersaulted lazily and pleasantly through the void, which is my hiding place when I dematerialize. Trout's cries to me faded as the distance between us increased. His voice was my father's voice. I heard my father, and I saw my mother in the void. My mother stayed far, far away because she had left me a legacy of suicide. A small hand mirror floated by. It was a leak with a mother-of-pearl handle and frame. I captured it easily, held it up to my own right eye. Here was what Kilgore Trout cried out to me in my father's voice. Make me young. Make me young. Make me young. Robert Kennedy, whose summer home is 8 miles from the home I live in all year round, was shot 2 nights ago. He died last night. So it goes. Martin Luther King was shot a month ago. He died too. So it goes. And every day my government gives me account of corpses created by military science in Vietnam. So it goes. My father died many years ago now, of natural causes. So it goes. He was a sweet man. He was a gun nut, too. He left me his guns. They rust. On Tralfamadore, says Billy Pilgrim, there isn't much interest in Jesus Christ. The earthling figure who is most engaging to the Tralfamadorean mind, he says, is Charles Darwin, We taught that those who die are meant to die, that corpses are improvements. So it goes. If what Billy Pilgrim learned from the Tralfamadorians is true, that we will all live forever, no matter how dead we may sometimes seem to be, I am not overjoyed. Still, if I am going to spend eternity visiting this moment and that, I'm grateful that so many of those moments are nice. One of the nicest ones in recent times was on my trip back to Dresden with my old war buddy, O'Hare. We took a Hungarian Airlines plane from East Berlin. The pilot had a handlebar mustache. He looked like Adolphe Menjou. He smoked a Cuban cigar while the plane was being fueled. When we took off, there was no talk of fastening seat belts. When we were up in the air, the young steward served us rye bread and salami and butter and cheese and white wine. The folding tray in front of me would not open out. The steward went up into the cockpit for a tool, came back with a beer can opener. He used it to pry out the tray. There were only 6 other passengers. They spoke many languages. They were having nice times, too. East Germany was down below, and the lights were on. I imagined dropping bombs on those lights, those villages, those cities and towns. O'Hare and I had never expected to make any money, and here we were now, extremely well-to-do. If you're ever in Cody, Wyoming, I said to him lazily, just ask for the Wild Bob. O'Hare had a little notebook with him, and printed on the back of it were postal rates and airline distances and the altitudes of famous mountains and other key facts about the world. He was looking up the population of Dresden, which wasn't in the notebook, when he came across this, which he gave me to read. On an average, 324,000 new babies are born into the world every day. During that same day, 10,000 persons on an average will have starved to death or died from malnutrition. So it goes. In addition, 123,000 persons will die for other reasons. So it goes. This leaves a net gain of about 191,000 people each day in the world.
Over.
The population